What if I told you that the team nobody expected to be here? A team from a small hockey market in the American South walked into the loudest building in Las Vegas, in front of 20,000 screaming Golden Knights fans, and completely shut them down.
Not one goal. Not one.
3 periods.
60 minutes.
0 for Vegas. This is the story of Game 6. This is the story of how the Carolina Hurricanes won the Stanley Cup. Let's go back to the beginning.
The Stanley Cup Final.
The 2 words every hockey player dreams about from the moment they first lace up skates as a kid. 2 words that mean everything in the sport. The Carolina Hurricanes versus the Vegas Golden Knights. The East versus the West. A team built on depth and defense against a team built on star power and home ice magic. Vegas had won the Stanley Cup before. They knew how to do this. They had players like Jack Eichel, Mitch Marner, Mark Stone. Guys who had been to the biggest stages and played their best when the lights were brightest. Their arena, T-Mobile Arena, is one of the wildest atmospheres in all of professional sports. When that place gets loud, it gets loud. The crowd is electric, the lights are dazzling, and visiting teams have crumbled there.
Carolina?
Carolina was a different kind of machine. They were the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. They had torn through the playoffs like a storm. They swept Ottawa 4-0. They swept Philadelphia 4-0. Then Montreal tried to slow them down and push them to 5 games, but Carolina still rolled through. They arrived at the Stanley Cup Final with something rare in playoff hockey: momentum, depth, and a goaltender playing some of the best hockey of his life. But this was Vegas. And Vegas does not go down easy.
Game 1. June 3rd. Raleigh, North Carolina. PNC Arena.
The Hurricanes at home, playing in front of their faithful fans. Everything was set up for Carolina to take control right away.
And they played well.
They scored 4 goals. But Vegas scored 5.
5-4, Golden Knights.
A gut punch to open the series. Game 2. 2 days later, still in Raleigh. Carolina's response was immediate. They took that 4-3 win and tied the series.
1-1.
Back and forth we go.
Game 3. Vegas. T-Mobile Arena.
The noise is insane. Vegas wins 5-4. They take the series lead again, 2-1. Carolina is now the team chasing. But then something shifted. Something quiet and deep inside that Carolina locker room.
Game 4.
Still in Vegas. Carolina goes into that building again.
And they win. 5-3.
The series is tied 2-2. All the momentum that Vegas thought they had? Gone. Stolen right back.
Game 5.
Back in Raleigh.
Home ice.
And Carolina delivers.
4-2.
They take the series lead for the first time, 3-2. They are 1 win away from the Stanley Cup. Now here is where this story gets really, truly extraordinary. Because Game 6 was back in Vegas. Carolina would have to go back into that building. That loud, hostile, golden building in the desert. They would have to go back in front of 20,000 Vegas fans who wanted nothing more than to send this series to a Game 7. They would have to win on the road to win the championship. They would have to silence the noise.
June 14th, 2026.
The night starts the way big nights always start in Vegas, with a show. There is always a show.
The lights dim. The music pounds.
Golden Knights players ride out on their medieval night stage entrance. The crowd is on its feet before the puck even drops. The atmosphere inside T-Mobile Arena is electric, thick, buzzing with urgency and desperation. This could be the last game of the year. This could be the night it all ends, one way or the other. For Vegas, this was survival.
Win or go home.
Win or the season is over and Carolina skates around their ice holding the cup. For a team with championship experience, that thought is unbearable. Because Game 6 was back in Vegas. Carolina would have to go back into that building. That loud, hostile, golden building in the desert. They would have to go back in front of 20,000 Vegas fans who wanted nothing more than to send this series to a Game 7. They would have to win on the road to win the championship. They would have to silence the noise.
June 14th, 2026.
The night starts the way big nights always start in Vegas, with a show. There is always a show.
The lights dim. The music pounds.
Golden Knights players ride out on their medieval night stage entrance. The crowd is on its feet before the puck even drops. The atmosphere inside T-Mobile Arena is electric, thick, buzzing with urgency and desperation. This could be the last game of the year. This could be the night it all ends, one way or the other. For Vegas, this was survival.
Win or go home.
Win or the season is over and Carolina skates around their ice holding the cup. For a team with championship experience, that thought is unbearable. For Carolina, this was destiny. They had one chance to close it out. One chance to finish the job right here, right now, instead of coming back for a Game 7 where anything can happen.
The puck drops. First period.
Both teams are careful, deliberate. You can feel the tension in every line change, every shot attempt, every blocked puck. Vegas knows they cannot afford to give up an early goal. Carolina knows that first strike could be everything. Vegas generates some chances. They get their shots in. Pavel Dorofeyev is active and aggressive, getting after the puck. Mark Stone is doing what Mark Stone does, being physical, making his presence felt. Tomas Hertl is working the face-off circles. But Carolina's goaltender Brandon Bussi is seeing everything.
Calm. Focused.
Every puck that comes his way, he controls it, smothers it, directs it away.
He looks different tonight.
He looks like a man who has decided this is his moment.
And then, there it is. Carolina scores. 1 goal. 1-0.
That goal, in that building, in the first period of a potential Stanley Cup clinching game, that is enormous. The Carolina bench erupts. The Vegas crowd sucks in its breath. Suddenly the building is quieter. Suddenly the home team is behind. Vegas has to respond. They need a goal badly. They push back. The Knights generate chances. T-Mobile Arena finds its voice again. Fans urging, willing, hoping their team can tie it.
But Bussi is there.
Every single time. Shot after shot, he's reading them, tracking them, stopping them. He's seeing the game in slow motion while everything around him is chaos.
The first period ends.
Carolina leads, 1-0. The locker rooms at the end of the first period of a Game 6 are two very different worlds. In the Carolina room, there is energy, focus, excitement, but it is controlled. They know they cannot celebrate yet. They know Vegas is dangerous. The coaches remind them, stay tight, stay simple, do not give them anything easy. In the Vegas room, there is urgency. Their coach, their leaders, Mark Stone, Jack Eichel, Tomas Hertl, they are talking, pushing, trying to reignite the fire. They are reminding their teammates that they have been here before.
They have made comebacks before.
1 goal is nothing. 1 goal can be erased in an instant. Second period begins. Vegas comes out harder. They are pressing. They have 19 giveaways throughout this game. They are forcing things, trying to manufacture chances. The desperation is real. Eichel is working. Barbashev is physical. Hanifin is walking the blue line looking for openings. But Carolina is relentless in their defensive structure. They are blocking shots, 12 blocked shots on the night. Jordan Staal is winning faceoffs. Sebastian Aho is disrupting plays. The Hurricanes are making it miserable for Vegas to generate clean looks. And then, in the middle of all this chaos and pressure, Carolina strikes again. A second goal.
2-0.
The air goes out of T-Mobile Arena like someone let out a giant sigh. 2-0 in the second period of a Game 6. Vegas's season is slipping through their fingers. The fans are still there, still rooting, but you can hear the difference. The urgency has become something closer to dread. For Vegas, now they need 2 goals just to tie it. Against a goaltender who looks unbeatable tonight. Against a team that is playing with the kind of calm confidence you only see in teams that truly believe they are going to win.
Vegas keeps shooting.
22 shots on the night total. They are not quitting. Jeremy Lauzon is throwing 7 hits. Barbashev is getting physical every shift. But none of it is going in.
Bussi is a wall.
Second period ends. Carolina still leads, 2-0. 30 minutes of hockey remain in the Vegas Golden Knights season. 30 minutes to score at least 2 goals against a goaltender who has been perfect all night. 30 minutes to write one of the great comeback stories in Stanley Cup Final history. Or 30 minutes left in Carolina's long, painful, beautiful journey to finally hold that cup. Think about what that means for Carolina fans. This franchise has been through decades of heartbreak. They have had great teams that fell short. They have had playoff runs that ended in disappointment. Their fans, scattered across a state that only started caring about hockey relatively recently, have waited and waited and waited. Now they are watching on television, barely breathing, 1 period away from seeing their team win it all. And for the players, Sebastian Aho, who has been the face of this franchise for years, fighting through every single series. Jordan Staal, the veteran leader, the big body who shows up every night and does the unglamorous work. Nikolai Ehlers, who came to Carolina and immediately made them better. All of these guys, 1 period. 3rd period. Vegas throws everything they have. They are playing with nothing to lose now. The crowd does its best to will them back. You have to give Vegas fans credit. They never quit, they never go silent completely. The Golden Knights press, they shoot, they try every angle. But Carolina's defense is extraordinary. They are taking hits, blocking pucks with their bodies, sacrificing everything to keep that scoreline intact. Jalen Chatfield is blocking 4 shots. Kandra Miller is blocking 1 more. Every Carolina player on that ice is throwing his body in front of rubber to protect their lead. And Bussy just keeps stopping everything.
Calm. Clear. Still.
Every save looks routine because he has put himself in positions so perfectly. This is a shutout performance for the ages.
The clock ticks down. 15 minutes. 10. 5.
Vegas pulls their goaltender.
Desperate times.
With about 2 minutes to go, they yank the goalie and get the extra attacker on the ice. 6 skaters against 5.
They have to score. They have to.
Carolina sees the empty net. And Nikolai Ehlers, one of the most dynamic players in this entire playoff run. Ehlers gets the puck in the neutral zone.
He looks up.
He sees the empty net at the other end of the ice. He fires it.
It goes in. 3-0. Empty net goal. Game over. The bench erupts. The players pour off the ice.
The substitutes are leaping. The coaches are hugging. And somewhere in that celebration, in between all the chaos and the joy and the screaming, you could see it on their faces.
This is real.
This is actually happening. The final buzzer sounds. Carolina Hurricanes 3. Vegas Golden Knights 0. Carolina wins the Stanley Cup. For the first time in the franchise's history at this level of dominance, a shutout on the road in the Stanley Cup Final. 3-0. Brandon Bussy stopped all 22 shots he faced and earned the first star of the game. A shutout in a cup-clinching game is one of the rarest things in hockey. To do it on the road, in one of the toughest buildings in the NHL, against a team fighting for its season, it is remarkable. And it was not just Bussy.
It was everyone.
Jordan Staal won 63% of his faceoffs on the night. Carolina won 52% overall in the faceoff circle, controlling puck possession, controlling field position, dictating the pace of the game the way champions do. The Hurricanes took 10 takeaways in this game. They were hunting the puck, not just sitting back.
Active. Aggressive on defense.
Making life miserable for every Vegas player who touched the puck. The Hurricanes took 10 takeaways in this game. They were hunting the puck, not just sitting back.
Active. Aggressive on defense.
Making life miserable for every Vegas player who touched the puck. Carolina had 12 blocked shots.
Think about that.
12 times, a player dropped to the ice or stepped in front of a puck flying at speeds that can break bones, just to keep the net empty.
That is sacrifice.
That is what winning a championship looks like from the inside. It is not always pretty. It is not always beautiful goals and fancy skating. Sometimes it is a defenseman throwing his body in front of a slap shot so his goaltender does not have to make one more save. And for Vegas, it hurts. It always hurts when a season ends. The Golden Knights gave everything they had in this series. They won the first game. They won the third game.
They pushed Carolina hard.
They played physical, talented, experienced hockey. Mark Stone and his leadership were undeniable. Jack Eichel was pushing the pace all series. Mitch Marner brought skill and creativity. But in Game 6, in the game that mattered most, Carolina simply had more. They had more composure.
More structure.
More of that rare quality in sports that you cannot quite put your finger on. The belief that no matter what happens, no matter how loud the building gets or how hard the other team pushes, you are going to find a way. And now, the moment everyone in Carolina has been waiting for. The Stanley Cup is carried onto the ice. It comes out on a red velvet cushion, carried by white-gloved handlers, that massive silver trophy that has been awarded since 1893.
Lord Stanley's Cup.
The oldest team sports trophy in North America. Every name of every champion engraved into its silver bands.
Hall of Famers. Legends.
Players who have become immortal. And soon, Carolina Hurricanes, 2026, will be on that cup forever. The presentation happens in the middle of the ice. The commissioner hands the trophy to the captain. That moment, when a player lifts the Stanley Cup above his head for the first time, there is nothing else like it in sports. Grown men cry. Players who have been emotionally trained their entire careers to stay stoic, to stay focused, to not show too much, in that moment, all of it comes out.
The tears. The laughter. The hugging.
The pointing at each other saying, "We did it. We actually did it." The Carolina players circled the ice in Vegas, in their opponent's building, carrying the cup around, taking turns lifting it, passing it to their teammates, laughing and screaming and crying. The few Carolina fans who had made the trip to Las Vegas were somewhere in that arena trying to outscream 20,000 heartbroken Vegas fans. And those Carolina fans were the happiest people in the building, the happiest people maybe anywhere. Back home in Raleigh, North Carolina, bars and restaurants filled with Hurricanes fans watching on screens erupted. Streets started filling with people in red and black. A city was celebrating something it had waited a very long time to feel. Let's take a moment to appreciate the journey Carolina took to get here.
Round 1. Ottawa Senators. A sweep.
4 games, 0 losses. Dominant from the very start, the Hurricanes gave the Senators absolutely nothing. They won the series in 8 days. It was clinical and impressive. Round 2. Philadelphia Flyers, an 8 seed who had knocked off Pittsburgh.
Another sweep.
4 games, 0 losses. At this point, people were starting to pay attention. You do not sweep 2 playoff series on your way to the Cup Final without having something very real and very dangerous about you. Round 3. The Eastern Conference Finals. Montreal Canadiens, a team that had already knocked out Tampa Bay and Buffalo on a remarkable run of their own.
This one was harder.
Montreal was energized, their young and veteran core all clicking together. They won the first game, actually beating Carolina in Raleigh in Game 1. But Carolina responded and took the next 4, winning the series 4 games to 1.
Then the Stanley Cup Final.
And that wild, emotional back-and-forth series against Vegas, trading wins, trading momentum, all the way to Game 6. Through all of it, all 12 playoff wins and however many pressurized moments, Carolina held their nerve.
Then the Stanley Cup Final.
And that wild, emotional back-and-forth series against Vegas, trading wins, trading momentum, all the way to Game 6. Through all of it, all 12 playoff wins and however many pressurized moments, Carolina held their nerve. Brandon Bussi will be remembered from this playoff run. The goaltender was outstanding all postseason. And in Game 6, when the whole season came down to 60 minutes, he was perfect.
22 shots.
0 goals allowed.
A shutout to win the cup.
When people talk about this championship years from now, they will talk about that performance. Sebastian Aho, the franchise cornerstone, the guy who has been building towards something like this for years, now has a Stanley Cup ring. Jordan Staal, a veteran who has been one of the most respected players in the league for over a decade, will carry that name on the cup. Nikolai Ehlers, who joined Carolina and immediately elevated them, who scored that clinching empty net goal, his name goes on the cup too. And every player on that roster. The depth players who showed up and did their jobs every night. The defensemen who blocked those shots in Game 6. The guys who win faceoffs and make simple passes and win battles along the boards. Those guys are champions now too. They earned it just as much as anyone. Because that is how the Carolina Hurricanes won. Not by one superstar carrying the team. Not by one line doing everything. They won because of 20 guys doing their jobs every single night for 2 months straight.
Depth. Commitment.
A team that believed in each other. That is what winning looks like. That is what the Stanley Cup is about. And now, as the champagne flows in the Carolina locker room, as the celebration moves from the ice in Vegas to the plains to the streets of Raleigh, this group of players and coaches will forever share something that no one can ever take away from them. They are Stanley Cup champions. The 2026 Carolina Hurricanes.
In the books. On the cup. Forever.
For every kid in North Carolina who ever put on skates and dreamed of playing hockey, this is for you. For every fan who sat through hard seasons and kept the faith, this is for you. For every player who gave everything they had to this organization over the years, this is for you. The storm has finally arrived. And it brought a Stanley Cup with it. That was Game 6. That was the 2026 Stanley Cup Final. And if you watched it live, you know, there are some moments in sports that remind you why you watch in the first place. Why you care so much about something that is, at the end of the day, just a game. Because it is not just a game. It is never just a game. It is the struggle, the sacrifice, the journey, and the moments of pure joy that make all of it worth it.
Carolina Hurricanes.
Stanley Cup champions. 2026.